ओम पूर्णमदः पूर्णमिदं पूर्णात् पूर्णमुदच्यते पूर्णस्य पूर्णमादाय पूर्णमेवावशिष्यते. So welcome to our Saturday morning session. Today happens to be Mahashivratri. So this is a very auspicious day, and I'm very happy that we are together on this day to celebrate Mahashivratri along with Bhagavad Gita. So before I start the next verse of Bhagavad Gita, I'd like to speak a few words on Mahashivratri. You see, the word Shiv is a Sanskrit root which basically means very peaceful, tranquil, absolutely quiet, divine. That is the meaning of Shiv. And the word Shiva comes from that word. Now, Shiva is the only god in Hinduism whose birth date is unknown. We have, Ram Navami or Janmashtami, we know when they were born, and we celebrate their birth on that particular day. But in case of Lord Shiva, his birth is not known. There are many speculations, there are many writings on that. Some believe that he's Swayambhu. He was never, born like anybody else. He appeared on his own. Some believe that he appeared from some other planet and came on the earth. So that was another explanation. Some believe that he is actually representing what we call nature, the entire nature, because his own appearance is in mountains. He has water in his, hair. He has moon there. He has, animal around his, particularly snake around him. He sits on an animal skin. So it is also said that he represents the entire nature. So there are various versions on that. We don't have to go into those versions. But the fact is that Shiva's birth is not known. He is considered Swayambhu, and that is why the Shivratri is not his birthday. It is celebrated because of other regions. Now there are 2-3 regions which have been mentioned in different writings about why we celebrate Mahashivratri. One of them, which is well known, is that he got married on this particular night with Parvati. That is one of the regions. The other region which has been mentioned in certain writings is that this is the night when he dances. His dance form is most famous. In fact, this is an art. The Natya Shastra of India is based on that. And this has a very special significance. The special significance of his dance is that the whole universe is dance of Shiva. It's like he is appearing everywhere in different dances. We are dancing while we are playing our role, that is like a dance. He is there everywhere. So he is eternal, he is everywhere. And the whole universe, the cosmos, is dancing based on his movements. So that is another explanation that the whole world is dancing around Shiva. And that is why on this particular night, we celebrate Mahashivratri. Then there is a very profound explanation. I have a book here. I'll show you this book. This is titled called The Serpent Power. This book was first published in 1918. The writer is Sir John Woodroffe. a British gentleman. He is also called, his later name he adopted was Arthur Avalon. He has written this book called Serpent Power. This book is on basically chakras, but also starts with Shiva and Shakti. There is a chapter in the book which says that Shiva is in the dormant form everywhere, and when the dormant form moves, there is some sort of movement in the dormant form, then that becomes Shakti. It's like an ocean lying completely dormant, but when the waves starts moving, the Shakti is generated. You can also call it in a different way that the whole universe is dormant, and when the word Om is uttered, then you have this movement in the world which causes, you know, all the movements, which is the foundation of all the movements. So the Shiva and Shakti is the foundation of that. That Shiva's power is a dormant power. And that is why he has used the word serpent power, that it is coiled serpent. You would see in Shiva temple that a coiled serpent lies at the base of, Shiva's uh, phallic symbol. And when this coil is actually activated, then the whole universe awakens. So this is another explanation given to that perception. So these are very different, explanations given about Lord Shiva and his appearance on the world, his role in the world. There's another explanation which I would like to mention. Shiva is considered the god of destruction. Brahma is the god of birth, which gives birth to this universe, to all the beings. And Vishnu is considered as sustainer who maintains this whole universe. And Shiva is considered as destructor, that he destroys it. But you see, destruction is a prerequisite for creation. And that is the reason that, a lot of Western people do not understand. While a god of destruction has a phallic symbol, which actually is a symbol of creation. So these are two contradictions, but these are not really contradictions in true sense. When you, for example, you harvest your crop, once the crop is harvested, you prepare the field for the new crop. So the destruction is basically like harvesting the crop and preparing the field for the new crop, and then the new crop is shown and it grows. So that is why this phallic symbol, the symbol of creation, has been used for a god of destruction. So these are two contradictions. So there are many writings on Lord Shiva. I thought I'll take a few minutes to you know explain some of them. I had written an article on Shiva's dance a few years ago. I'll put it on our WhatsApp group. Shiva is also considered Adi Yogi, that is the first yogi. His mudra, his facial expressions denote that he is the supreme yogi. He is always in meditation in that sense. And the various, saints who have preached meditation, they have used different mudras of Lord Shiva to explain their own meditation techniques. So there are various explanations. In southern India, there are many more temples of Lord Shiva than North India. But all over India, we have a large number of temples. Some of the most ancient temples are dedicated to Lord Shiva because his birth is unknown. He is called Swayambhu. He is supposed to be Adi Yogi, Adi Dev, Dev, the first divine power. All others were born and they are known to humanity like Lord Krishna and Lord Rama. So this is what I thought I will say a few words on this particular occasion before we start our, uh, you know, chapter 10 of Bhagavad Gita. So we last time we considered verses 1, 2, and 3. Today we'll start from fourth. So let's start from fourth. Fourth and fifth we will take together because they are together. निश्चय करने की शक्ति, यथार्थ ज्ञान, असम्मूढ़ता, क्षमा, सत्य, इंद्रियों का वश में करना, मन का निग्रह और सुख दुख, उत्पत्ति प्रलय, भय और अभय तथा अहिंसा, समता, संतोष, तप, दान, कीर्ति और अपकीर्ति, ऐसे ये प्राणियों के नाना प्रकार के भाव मुझसे ही उत्पन्न होते हैं. Now in verse number 2 and 3, Lord Krishna said something which was called Param Vachan, which is something which is not easily understood by our intellect or by our mind. Because here he said that I am even more ancient than all the Devatas and all the Rishis, and I am the cause of all those origins. And this, I have no origin, I am the cause of all causes. So to understand that, now he is explaining that all variety of conduct which we do in this world is also originating from him. Not only our birth, we are born because of him. He is the cause of causes. Even the divine powers were born of him. All the saints were born of him. In addition, all the tendencies, all the actions we perform, they are also born out of his, essential existence. That is the cause. So here is, enumerating a few of them. The first is Nishchay Karne Ki Shakti. Now this is extremely important. This is one power which can transform our life. If we can take a firm resolve to do certain thing, this is also called power of mind. In Brihadaranyaka Upanishad, this has been dealt with in detail, that how the power of mind can transform your life completely. The idea turns into will, and will turns into action, and action turns into your life. Similarly, here Nishchay Karne Ki Shakti, that is the willpower, can transform all your actions and change your life completely. So that the first thing he is mentioning, that if you want, you can use this power and transform your life. Second is Yatharth Gyan. Now, Yatharth Gyan actually is the true knowledge not based on our mental fabrications. Like all the philosophical thoughts in the West, they are arguments and counter arguments in the mind of the human being. You apply your logic and say this is how, and then logically you explain certain things. It's like an advocate pleading in the court based on his arguments and another advocate countering those arguments. So that is not Yatharth Gyan. Now, Yatharth Gyan is actually the experience of the knowledge. Like I was thinking of an example. A person who never understood toothache. Now, a person who is suffering from toothache, he will tell him that I have tremendous pain in my tooth. Now, that person will only believe his words. He cannot feel the intensity of the pain. But he himself gets that pain one day, then he will feel what the other person was talking about. That will be Yatharth Gyan. That true knowledge comes with experience. not with simple words. So मानना एक चीज है और जानना दूसरी चीज. Manna is based on what others have said, but here Lord Krishna is saying that the true knowledge can come only with experience, and that experience is possible only when you become one with Him. So that is the Yatharth Gyan. Asamurta. Asamurta means, you know, it's basically pragya, we can call it pragya. Then the kind of intellectual power which is not the rational power which enables us to argument in favor and against. That is not the power. It is the power which transcends that so-called normal intellectual power. That power, pragya, that pragya is the requirement for yatharth gyan. You can have true experience of knowledge only when you reach that pragya state of pragya. So that is what he is mentioning here. Then he is talking about क्षमा, सत्य, इंद्रियों का वश में करना, निग्रह, मन का निग्रह. Man is also part of senses in a way, because it's either called sixth sense or the 11th sense. Because man and senses, mind and senses, they work together. You will not listen to me now unless your mind is also with your ears. Your ears and your mind has to be together to perform an act. So this is what he is saying in these few, verses here. That Shama, Satya, Indriyon ka vas mein, man ka nigrah, all these feelings that arise in you, they arise because of that power of the Almighty, the, the, the supreme cause which exists in you. We can call it that consciousness. From that consciousness, these powers come. These powers will come to you only when you meditate on that consciousness. So निश्चय करने की शक्ति, यथार्थ ज्ञान, असमूर्ता, समा, सत्य, इंद्रियों का वश में करना और मन का निग्रह. That is the first line of the first verse. In the second line of the same verse, you see the systematic explanation. He talks about the dualities. He talks about Sukh Dukh, Pralay and Utpatti, Bhay and Abhay. He's talking about the dualities. The dualities which appear to us as dual, they are not really dual. Pralay and Utpatti, they are the same thing. But in our mind, we cannot understand these dichotomies clearly. And therefore, we feel that they are contradictory. But this is a gradual state of change. Once you are born as a child, then you grow as adult, then you grow as mature person, and then you become old, and then the final stage is death. Death is not something contradictory to the birth. Birth and death is a process. It's part of the same process. It's like you produce a product in a factory. You start with one small part and then you keep adding new parts, and finally you come out with a finished product. So it is the finished product comes out of various processes, and that product is the human being. And then that product is used by the people, and finally after use it is discarded, it dies. So this is what happens with the human body as well. So this is what he said, that Sukh and Dukh, they appear dualities, but if you are looking for Sukh, you will invariably get Sukh and Dukh both. It's not possible only to get Sukh. Anand doesn't have opposite. So you can get Anand, that has no opposite. That is the state of total tranquility, total serenity, total what you call stress-free, constant state. But if you are looking for Sukh, you are also looking for dukh because that is inbuilt there. This is like the two sides of a coin. You can't only say that I want the head of the coin and not the tail. Now, you may be looking at the head, but the tail is there. It is also hidden. It's not visible, but it can turn any time, and the tail can, come up, and the head can actually disappear downwards. So that is how Sukh and Dukh are inbuilt. They are together. So is Utpatti and Pralay, and so is Bhay and Abhay. So these are the dualities which he said, they also originate from me. Apart from the first four things, these three examples he has given of the dualities, the fundamental dualities in life. Fundamental, these are fundamental. The birth and death is fundamental. Bhaya and Abhaya is fundamental. Dukh and Sukh is fundamental. So these examples he has given in this first verse. The second verse he is talking about ahimsa, samta, santosh, tap, dan, kirti, apkirti. Now these are different, if we examine our conduct, we find that sometimes we look for non-violence. Sometimes we believe in that everything should be, why people are suffering with poverty, why don't they get good life? So we are looking for samta. We are also looking for santosh because many a time we feel that this trishna is the one which is the cause of all our pains, and therefore we should become santoshi. We should be satisfied what we have. So tap is basically to pass through, an arduous exercise. For example, somebody says, I will remain standing for 1 year. Now that is tap. The other day I saw some people doing Dandvat Parikrama in the in Vajra, the what you call the mountain Giriraj. Now, those people are, that is a tapasya. If you are doing Dandvat Parikrama, it's a tapasya. I saw that people doing in of Mount Kailas. When we visited Mount Kailas long back, that time I saw Tibetans, because Tibetans believe that Buddha is, uh, you know, the Mount Kailas is the incarnation of Buddha, or Buddha is in Samadhi there. Like Hindus believe that Lord Shiva is in Samadhi in Mount Kailas. So they do. That's a 52 kilometer at the altitude of almost 20,000 feet, 19,000 some feet. It's snow bound in the month of June, July. The temperature could be minus 35, June, July. So in that kind of temperature, they are doing what we call Dandvat Parikrama. Many of them died during that period, 52 kilometers. It takes months and months to perform that parikrama. So that is called tap. Now, tap, we had discussed this before also. This is a sort of, it comes out of resolve that I'll do it. And human body can do that. It's possible. But tap is not necessarily, leading you to yoga. That we discussed before. Tap is a resolve, but it doesn't necessarily lead you to yoga. Then we have dan, that you people donate. Then you kirti means others are talking good of you. Kirti is not ahankar, that you feel that I am great guy. That is ahankar. Kirti is that others talk about your good actions, and you remain absolutely polite. You remain absolutely unaffected by that praise. So apkirti is that others are talking about your bad actions. So these are also originating from him. And then at the end he says, kai other, many other tendencies which human beings have, they all originate from him. So in the first two verses, second and third, he says, I am the cause of all causes. That is the origin of everything is in me. In these two verses, he is saying that all the tendencies in which we perform, they are also originating from me. So these are two different, explanations. The one is the origin of the person himself or any other form of life, and then secondly is how we conduct ourselves. They also have their origin in the Almighty. So these are the verse number 4 and 5. Now we'll go to verse number 6. सात महर्षि जन, चार उनसे भी पूर्व होने वाले सनकादि, तथा स्वयंभू आदि 14 मनु, ये मुझ में भाव वाले सबके सब मेरे संकल्प से उत्पन्न हुए हैं, जिनकी ये संसार में संपूर्ण प्रजा है. Now it is very important to understand this verse. If you look at all the Hindu Shastras, you will find that the origin of the universe, in the beginning of the universe, once the nature is uh, in place, the life started with this. The life started with Sat Maharshi, 7 great saints, and 4 Sankadi. Now, these are the names which have been mentioned not in one scripture, in multiple scriptures. There may be slight difference in the names, but not much. In the name of rishis, there could be slight difference. Some additional rishis have also appeared. But basically, let me tell you these 7 names of the rishis and 4 names of Sanak Kumars. Now, the 4, divine humans who appeared, they are called Sanat Kumar. One is Sanak Kumar. Second is Sanatan Kumar. Third is Sanand Kumar. And fourth is Sanat Kumar. The names are very similar. Sanak is at the end, it is Ka. Sanak Kumar, then Sanatan Kumar, Sanand Kumar, and Sanat Kumar. You will find these names in many scriptures of India. Then the 7 rishis which have been named, and we also have the Saptrishi in the galaxy of stars. These 7 rishis are basically Vishwamitra, Gautam, Vasisht, Kashyap, Bharadwaj, Atri, and Janmagni. These are the 7 rishis which have been referred in different scriptures that they came in the beginning of the universe. And Manu, 14 Manu, but the first Manu and Satrupa, Manu and Satrupa, they are the couple which came into being, and that couple, Manu and Satrupa, they gave birth to the entire humanity. So there are 14 Manuj which have been named, and the Kal Chakra which have been has appeared in variety of writings. You see, there are 14 Manvantra in a Kal Chakra, 14 Manvantras, and each Manvantra that is named after one Manu. That is why it's called Manvantra, that one segment of time named after one particular Manu. So there are 14 Manuj, 14 Manvantras, and 14 Manvantras form one Kalp, one Yuga. One Kalp is 1 day of Brahma, and that is equal to 4.32 billion years. So this is the division of time, and this is also the origin of the life on the earth. This is what has been explained in variety of Puranas. If you look at Vishnu Puran, if you look at Shiv Puran, you will find these kind of expressions that 4 Kumaras, 7 Rishis, and 14 Manuj. They came in the beginning of the universe. They were created first, and then the entire universe came into being. So the physical universe came into being first. Then came 4 Sanat Kumar, these 4 divine forces. And then came seven rishis who gave knowledge to the world. And then came 14 Manuj, one Manu after another, with 14 Manvantras, and that is the division of a kalpa, a yug, that is 4.32 billion years. So this has been described in variety of writings. I have quoted this writing in one of my book from Srimad Bhagavatam or Bhagavad Puran. Bhagavad Puran gives a division of time from atomic time to the life of Lord Shiva, that is 311 trillion and 4 billion years, which is life of one Brahma. And that life of Brahma is, you know, is the longest, what you call duration of time, which has been described thousands of years back in our scriptures. So I thought I'll mention these. This is this reference by Lord Krishna here is reference to the origin of life in the world. So these verses from second, third, then fourth, five, six, seven. These verses are actually describing the origin of the universe in a very scientific way. Then verse number 7. जो पुरुष मेरी इस ऐश्वर्य रूप विभूति को और योग शक्ति को तत्व से जानता है, वह निश्चल भक्ति योग से युक्त हो जाता है, इसमें कोई संशय नहीं है. Now, if we understand these things which have been explained in the previous 6 verses, or rather 5 verses, that what is the cause of the causes? The Adi Purus who came into, or who is the cause of all, birth, including the birth of Devtas and Rishis, and which is beyond our understanding. That is one. Then all the tendencies of human behavior, the second. And third, how this universe came into being in the beginning, the formation of the world, the very origin of human life. All that, if we can understand it properly, then you will become one with the Almighty. Why? Because you will understand the cause of this universe. You will analyze and assume that how this universe came into being. There is one single power which has given birth to all this. And once you have that experience, once you start realizing that, then naturally you will become one with that, because you will feel that I'm part and parcel of the same, supreme power. And then you will not consider yourself as a separate entity. Your ego will dissolve completely with the supreme entity. And once that happens, then what you become? You become one with him. योग शक्ति, निश्चल भक्ति योग से योग में चले जाते हैं. Bhakti yoga, because you feel that the supreme power is the one which is the origin of everything, and therefore you start dedicating yourself to him. And once you do that, then you become one with him. Now there's another word which has been used here. जो पुरुष मेरी इस ऐश्वर्य रूप विभूति को. Now ऐश्वर्य रूप विभूति ये क्या है? Now, the word Ishwar comes from Aishwarya. Aishwarya is actually the culmination of an activity to the highest level. For example, a flower opens up, culminates, and becomes most beautiful. That is Aishwarya. That is the time of his Aishwarya. A human being, when he becomes absolutely young, he is fully developed. His development is at the peak. That is the time of Aishwarya. Similarly, you can take any activity in this universe which is at the peak of energy, which has the highest level of energy. That level is called Aishwarya, level of Aishwarya. And that level of Aishwarya is arrived due to the power of Ishwar. The Ishwar power enables you to reach to that level of Aishwarya. If, for example, a player, he displays extremely fantastic quality, highest quality, in, for example, in Olympics, they display their Aishwarya in different sports. Now that Aishwarya, that power comes from Ishwar, the, 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 the fundamental existence which give us birth also gives us that power. And that power fructifies in the form of Aishwarya. And that is where you realize that the origin and the summit on which you reach, they are all because of that Ishwar, all because of that supreme power. And this is where you realize, you know, Paramatma with Tattva. This word Tattva has been used by Lord Krishna many times. So then you feel that this is all because of the Lord, all because of the Almighty. And that realization leads you to complete unification with the God. And then you become one with Him. Then your nishchal, the word has been used here, nishchal, means you don't waver anymore. Your wavering comes to an end because you have realized already that everything is because of Him. And that realization makes you completely waverless, no wavering, and you are fully one with Him. And this is what Lord Krishna is mentioning in verse number 7. Now, verse number 8. मैं Vasudevi. Now he is explaining in a more simpler language in this verse. मैं वासुदेवी संपूर्ण जगत की उत्पत्ति का कारण हूं, मुझी से संपूर्ण जगत चेष्टा करता है, और इस प्रकार समझकर श्रद्धा और भक्ति से युक्त बुद्धिमान भक्तजन मुझ परमेश्वर का निरंतर भजन करते हैं. Now what is said in verse number 2 and 3, that I am the cause of causes. He has very simple language he has explained, because Arjun was also like a ordinary human being. He may not have understood the complex terms which he has used in the previous verses. So he wants to simplify it. He wants to explain to him that don't get completely confused. The fact is that मैं ही सब लोगों की उत्पत्ति का कारण हूं. Aham sarvasya prabhavo means I am the cause of all the origin of everything. That is what he says in the first part of the first verse. Then he says, संपूर्ण जगत मेरे से चेष्टा करता है, मत्तः सर्वम प्रवर्तते. All the pravartiyan, all the chesta, all the action you do, which has been explained in verse number 4 and 5, all that is because of me. He has very simplified it. कि सारी प्रवृत्तियां, सारी चेष्टा, सारे एक्शन जो आप करते हैं, they all originate from that consciousness which is in you. Because once that consciousness leaves the body, then we become actionless. We can't think, we can't have any emotions, we can't do anything. All our pravartis come to an end. So जो भी प्रवृत्तियां हैं, they originate from him, birth from him, the प्रवृत्तियां from him. And then कहते हैं कि if you can understand this, this is the verse number 6 and 7, that if you can understand this fact can be understood only with Shraddha. It cannot be explained with logic. Logic fails there. You have to have total faith in that, because logic reaches up to a point. You cannot explain, for example, I gave you an example, let me repeat it. I cannot experience the birth of my great grandfather. It's not possible for me. I cannot experience the birth of my father or my mother because they were born before me. Somebody tells me this and I understand that. If a child is separated from his parents and he is gone somewhere else, like Karn in Mahabharata, now he will not understand who is his father, who is his mother, because he is not able, nobody has told him who is his parents. So this acceptance is based on what has been told to you. It is not because of your experience. So that is what the cause of the causes cannot be understood with experience. It is understood because somebody is telling you, or some written text is telling you, or some saint is telling you. That is why Shruti is important. Because these things can only be told by those people who have become one with the Almighty. Like Lord Krishna has become one with the Almighty, and whatever he is telling here, he is telling as Brahman. He is telling as the Supreme Lord. He is not telling this as Krishna himself. No, he is telling as a Supreme Lord because he has become one. He has become yukt. The English word yoke is from yukt, that you become one with the Supreme, and then you tell this truth. So this is what he is saying here, that this can be understood only with Shraddha, but then slowly, slowly, if you become one with him, you can experience this also. हैं? तो इसलिए निरंतर अगर आप उसका स्मरण करेंगे, then ultimately you will become one with him, and then you will experience this truth yourself. So this is what Lord Krishna, these 8 verses tell you the deepest science of this universe, how this universe came into being, what is the cause, why you behave in a particular fashion. All these things have been explained in these 8 verses. And if you complement these verses little with what has been said in chapter 7, where he has said that my nature is divided into 2 parts. One is Aparashakti, one is Parashakti. Aparashakti has 8 parts. That is what is the 5 Panchbhut, that is Akash, Vayu, Agni, Jal, Prithvi, and then Man, Buddhi, and Ahankar. These are the Aparashakti part of our Aparashakti, and then the life force is the Parashakti which comes into being. So if you put this together, this explains you the entire universe, its origin, and how the universe is sustained and run. So I will close here today at verse number 8, because after that the chapter talks about certain different things. So we will stop here. If you have any questions on this issue, I will do my best to give an answer to you. Thank you so much. And once again, I wish all of you a very happy, joyful, and peaceful Mahashivratri.